You're listening to Radioactive on 91.3 FM CJTR. My name's Victoria. With me right now, I got Blackfield Brad's guitar player, Jinxx. How are you doing, Jinxx?
I'm doing great. How about
Oh,
yourself?
I'm doing good. So
All right.
the last time we talked, you guys had a lot of stuff going on. You had the Restitch album coming out. You were preparing for the Whiskey Show. And now
Right.
you guys got the new Scarlet Cross single out, and you just did another live stream show. So, kind of, I guess we'll just kind of start from the last time I talked to you. How did that Whiskey Show go?
The whiskey show went really well. It was weird. It was the first time we tried anything like that, a virtual concert. And, I have to say, I played the whiskey, I don't know how many times, yeah, in previous bands with Blackfield. And it's always been like a home show for me playing there. But it was the weirdest experience because there's no audience. It was like playing to an empty room, and I've never played to an empty room there before, unless it was like sound check, which isn't the same. So it kind of felt like doing sound check. Only, yeah, we had our wives in the back of the room cheering for us, so at least there was that. But
Yeah,
it was kind of weird, I have to say. But but it wasn't sound check. We put in our all. We warmed up for the show. We gave it all our best energy, like we normally would at a normal show. Yeah, I think it was pretty well received. People that tuned in and were part of it, and it was definitely very exciting to do that. And when we did it again in December, it was a lot of fun doing it, kind of changing it up again. But I think for that one, the whiskey show, what was challenging for us was playing all the songs from We Said She Swoons from front to back. So it was like
right.
a lot of the songs we'd never ever played live, like Carolyn or
Yeah,
Heaven's Calling. I think we played once live. Beautiful Remains the same. And so it was kind of challenging to relearn those songs. I mean, we had to anyway to make the re-record, but then to play those songs live, like standing up and actually like nailing it. It was a bit
yeah.
challenging. Those songs are not easy to play.
No,
So yeah,
they
we
don't look
were really
easy.
ahead of ourselves at the time. No, yeah.
Yeah,
So
they
yeah, we
look
were
tough.
shredding.
But I mean, the last time we talked to you, you were talking about how you redid The Mortician's Daughter and turned into Overture 3. And like you said that you were hoping people liked it. And I think for sure people do. Like, it is a beautiful piece that you put together.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that people have liked it. I've heard mixed things. Oh, I like the original better, but it's not like we're stopping you from listening to the original. I
Yeah,
totally get the charm of the original recording, and it's a lot of people prefer to hear it with the lyrics and Andy singing, of course. And it was just basically my take on it as an instrumental. It was kind of a thing where Andy and I got together and, asked me how we wanted to approach this because he felt that it wouldn't feel honest for him to sing this song again because of how, he felt about the person he was writing about when he wrote the song and when he sang it the first time. He doesn't have those feelings anymore. That person is no longer in his life. So he felt that he wouldn't be able to honestly sing,
right.
and it just kind of approached me like, how would you like to turn it into Overture 3? And I'm like, well, I think that's a great idea. It'd be a good way to put that song to bed. And so, yeah, I hope people liked it. Like I said, I've heard mixed reviews, but I've heard a lot of positive mostly. So that I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I really like it. And then you guys also released a new single, Scarlet Cross. Kind of tell me about the idea of the song.
Yeah. So this for this record cycle. So basically, let me go back to the beginning of this year, or this past year rather, 2020. Where to begin for everybody. But we did. We were like I think every other band starting. Who planned a tour in 2020 started off the year like, yes, we're gonna, we got all these dates booked and we're gonna do this massive tour, and we were so stoked because we were kind of inactive for a couple of years, and we're like, we're like, yeah, we're hungry, we're ready to kick butt, do a world tour, and we got a new member in the band who's excited, and it's his first time playing with us, and so we did one show in Mexico City, and it was like we just felt like it was the best show we'd ever played.
Yeah,
We were just hungry for it. The audience was great, and it was a big show for us. And our first one was Lonnie, and then that was just as coronavirus was starting to hit the U.S. And we got back from our flight from that show, one show, and then it was like, the dominoes were falling, all the bands were canceling tours, and
Yeah.
Live Nations was canceling tours, and we're just like, oh no. And we're just kind of biding our time and waiting until it was for sure that, we kind of knew at that point that this might be a possibility. We'd have to postpone. At the time we were set to tour with In This Moment, and start in the US, and yeah, we was kind of looking like, okay, that might have to get postponed to later this fall, and then just to start in Europe. Well, we didn't know nobody knew what was going to happen. We still don't know when things will go back to some sort of normalcy as far as touring and playing live shows again. But anyway, long story short, so when it was announced that we couldn't tour, and we quickly had to shift gears. And we just signed with Sumerian Records. We released the duology and the night with them, and that did really well. And then Restitch, and that did well. And we just kind of approached them and said, well, hey, since we can't tour, why don't we just start on the next record, if that's cool? And yeah, so it was okayed, and we just shifted gears, and we just went straight into the studio. Guy that we were friends with. We started working with Eric Ron. He's a producer, and just really great rapport with him. We decided to kind of try it out, and with him and Jake co-producing it, and right away we just started off with some material, just kind of writing things from scratch, sitting in the studio, all sharing ideas. Jake came up with this riff, and it became the song Scarlet Cross. Andy walked outside, wrote some lyrics, came back in, and he had this whole story about, the story he wanted to tell. And I won't get into it because it'll reveal too much about what's to come next. But, but yeah, it just all came together in a day, that song. And from there on, we just, it was song after song, bam, bam, bam. And yeah, it's kind of interesting because it was the first song we did with Eric, and it was the first single. So it was just kind of like the magic was there right off from the get-go. And that's the way it's been all year, working on these songs in this new record. And it's going to be massive. I mean, we're super stoked, and we're just working on picking the next single now, and figuring out what that's going to be. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that was basically the process in a nutshell. We had to do something with this year, productive, and to keep going. And a better way is just to write a new record. So there you have it.
Yeah, and the music video is pretty cool too. I mean, you guys got like the whole red and black theme, and then all the fire and new costumes. Like, how excited are you about how excited were you for shooting that video and just having all the new costumes?
Oh, very, very excited. We've always, for the most part, been a very theatrical band, and to kind of go back to, it kind of reminded us, like doing this record and these songs, and the attitude we're feeling, that this hunger again, is kind of bringing back some memories of when we did not We Stitch, but Wretched and Divine. And with that, we did it was a concept record. We made a movie. We had costumes, characters, and kind of wanted to revisit that in a certain way. Not that the story is any resemblance to that story. It's a different story, but kind of carrying on and in a new light, new idea, fresh idea. But yeah, we wanted to bring back costumes, and Andy had this idea for kind of like, he's always been really fascinated with like Catholic imagery, and growing up in the Catholic Church, and he liked the story of like the Scarlet Cross or the Scarlet Letter. He's kind of using that as like, oh, what about like Scarlet Cross? And he was referencing. I collect a lot of old Masonic Knights Templar costumes and antiques and things from the Victorian times. So we were kind of referencing some items I had in my collection, and it was all with the Scarlet Cross, and it was just really cool symbolism, and it just kind of worked really well with the story, with how we're trying to tell it and portray it. So yeah, it was really cool for me because I'm totally into that stuff, and yeah, just bringing back the costumes, a bit of the makeup. It's all very exciting because it's it just feels right, putting on that at least that amount of war paint and dressing in your armor basically,
Right.
and going out there with that, and then with the fire, and we're working with Patrick Fogarty. He's just a brilliant cinematographer, and so yeah, it's this great good feeling, and yeah, we're very excited about what's next to come.
Mm-hmm. And right after, like shortly after Scarlet Cross was released, you guys announced that you're going to be doing the Alive and Burning show too. Kind of what made you guys kind of want to do another live stream show? Was it due to COVID, or were you guys always kind of thinking of doing another Alive and Burning show?
Uh, Really, it was just after we did the whiskey show. You know, well, I mean, come on, we were burning to play live shows. We were, like I said, we were so excited. And after the Mexico City show, and then everything getting canceled, it kind of hits a real low in you when you're just so excited for something and then it doesn't happen. When we did the whiskey show, it was just such a great feeling to, even though it was not quite the same as playing to a live audience. It was as close as we could come, all things
Right.
considered. So we definitely wanted to do another one. There's talks of doing another one right off the get-go after doing that one. And, we talked about, well, should we like do another album in its entirety? And like just go down the line. I mean, and we're like, no, let's just do a show like we would have done like our set, a full set on the tour. So let's just do our normal set, all the hits, all the favorites, and we'll introduce the new song, Scarlet Cross, which we started out the set with that. And it worked out really well. So, for that show felt more like a real show to us because, we had a bit of production and because we were playing, the songs that we normally play in our set, wasn't, struggling to try and remember how to play the songs from our first record and start to finish. That was definitely the idea behind that. After we did the whiskey show, we're like, let's do another one and try to do as soon as we can, and let's just do a set. We're thinking we're just going to keep doing these until we can finally tour again. So we're definitely going to do another one. We had some ideas, like maybe the next one we do some of the rough cuts, or the songs that were like B-sides or something, but still fan favorites. So
Right.
we're kind of throwing around some ideas, but we'll be announcing something soon for the next one.
Yeah, and at that last live stream show that you guys did, what was your favorite song that you played?
Scarlet Cross, I have to say, hands down, because it's brand new, and I think it just represents the band as we are now. So it's definitely fun to showcase that.
Yeah. And like you said, it was a fan favorite show of like songs. What's your
Mm-hmm.
favorite Blackfield Ride song of all time? Like maybe it's not one that you played at the show, or it could be.
Right. That's like I get asked that often, and it's like asking, pick your favorite child.
And it probably
I mean,
it probably always
I
changes too.
it does change actually. Yeah, because after this live stream, I would have said Scarlet Cross because it was brand new and exciting to play a new song. But then I would also answer, over time, I love playing Shadows Die because I showcase playing the violin and
Yeah.
switching between the violin and the heavy, guitar. And the song is so theatrical. I love playing that and doing my overture going into that, playing that live for the first time, which we did in live stream. That was exciting for me. So, I would probably say that now, at least that's as far as what my favorite Blackfield songs are to play live as of right now. So.
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that when I watched that live stream, and I was gonna say that the Shadows Die was probably the favorite one that you guys played for me
Right on.
anyway. Yeah.
Cool.
So you guys have been making obviously music for such a long time. You've released so many albums. Do you have a favorite era of Blackfield Brides?
Yeah, the current era, I have to
This
say.
one?
And this one right now, because it's never felt so right to us, if so to speak. We've talked about it, when we're all sitting in the same room together. We're just like, man, we're having so much fun. And it's not like, we never really didn't have fun, but there was a time after putting out the first few records where we kind of, I don't want to say we kind of drifted apart from each other, but it's just, we were touring so relentlessly and just constantly working that we kind of got a bit burned out,
Yeah.
a little bit. And we spend that much time, 12 people on a bus, and, you just know each other's thoughts at that point. You just don't have any space. You start to kind of wear on each other a bit. No, I mean, we've always gotten along for the most part, but it happens to any band, anybody. And for us, like I say, we're having the most fun we've ever had. We're all just getting along great. We're writing what we feel are the best songs we've ever written in our entire career, and it just feels good. We're doing it our way. It's not where people are telling us what to do. We have total control over our creativity, and it's just really exciting for us. So I feel like this era we're finally getting it. It's like we got it. We figured out what we want to do with this band and our image and our songs, and we're telling it in a way that I think is pretty solid. So yeah. Anyway, to answer your question, long story short, this one, this era is my favorite.
Yeah. And after all the years that you've been with Blackfield Brides, do you have any funny tour stories to tell? Whether it was a maybe encounter with a fan or a like stage moment or anything like that?
Oh dear. I have plenty that I probably can't tell. Maybe when I write a book about my experiences in Blackville when I'm like, 80 years old or something, I can tell some of them and laugh about it. But there's definitely been some funny moments. Man, this is always a hard one for me because it has to. Geez, there's a lot to go off of. Many years of touring, but.
Right.
Come back to me on that one. Okay. Let me
Yeah.
have a think. Yep.
How about embarrassing stage moments?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely embarrassing stage moments. Gosh, this was actually before I was in Black Veil, but there's been a couple times I've fallen off stage, and once in my old band I was playing the whiskey, and I was playing a guitar solo or whatever, and I just walked right off the stage, but then I just got right back up, and, and I think I was bleeding. It was total like rock star moment, like movie rock star. And another time I did was I was in Belgium with an even older band, this band Amen, and I fell off the stage, and it was a huge drop off, and I hit the guardrail, and the crew or whatever, they just put me back up on stage, and I was just kind of dizzy for a minute. I didn't really know what happened, and then I just kept playing, and that was it. So falling off stage, I tend to be clumsy, so there's those moments, and those moments happen often too. We're running back and forth between stage, and we'll knock into each other, and it just happens. We just laugh it off and
Right.
smile at each other, and it's just those moments.
Like,
Hope the fans don't catch it, but I'm sure they do. So.
Yeah, like Andy falling off the pillars there at the Hollywood show there when he
That was the
broke
Hollywood
his
Highland
ribs.
show.
Yeah.
And Andy can tell that story way better. But from our perspective, and by the way, if you haven't, everyone out there, go and pick up Andy's book. They Don't Need to Understand. It's so good. I read it, when it first came out, and it's fun to read his book and his perspective on things and go through all these old memories and stories, and it's just. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely a fun read, I think, for any fan to go through.
Yeah.
But he mentions anyway in detail about
This is why I brought this up
when that happened. And
I read about
yes.
it.
So right, but I'll tell you from my perspective, what happened was we started the set, and we were kind of in our own little world. We just we were just working on, or we were just about to release "Set the World on Fire," I believe.
Yeah.
And but we were mostly playing songs in our set from We Stitch, and gosh, I remember, we got one or two songs into the set, and it was like, where's Andy? At that time, and the whole year, half or 2 years that we'd already been touring at that point, Andy's shtick was to climb up on the lighting trusses and just climb up on whatever he can. He would just climb around and jump off of things, and so we're pretty used to like, oh, he'll disappear for a minute, or he'll go out into the audience and pick a fight with somebody, and and he'll disappear. So we're kind of used to it, but he was gone for a particularly long period of time, and it was like, oh, where'd he go? And anyway, we got finished the song, and then he appeared all of a sudden, and it was like, oh, there he is, and he called out a song that we had never actually played live at that point. I think it was "Beautiful Remains." We hadn't actually played it live, or we played it maybe on the first tour, but not since then. So we were like, it wasn't in our set, and we hadn't rehearsed it, and we were just like, oh, okay, that's weird. We're gonna play that run. Yeah, all right, it's not on the set list. So, but we nailed, we didn't nail it, but we got through it. And then after that, I think, amazingly, we finished the set, and I don't know how on earth he was just young and resilient at that time, and just like, but he must have just been in so much pain. And like I say, he tells the story much better in his book, but that was definitely a moment. I wouldn't say it's a funny moment. I mean, if you watch videos of that, it's just
it looks terrible.
Painful.
It looks
so
brutal.
cringeworthy, and it felt so bad for him after that, and Yeah, not, I wouldn't say it's a funny moment. It's definitely an oops moment, but not a
Yeah,
funny one for sure. And oh
yeah.
yeah, as I was telling you about my experience in Belgium, so I hit that guardrail. I actually broke my ribs too. Not as bad as Andy did, but I just like hairline fractures on two of my ribs, and I had to carry on that. That was at the beginning of that tour. I had to continue that tour for like 2 months after that, and that was very
Aw,
painful. So
yeah.
yeah, I didn't miss a show, but I had to do that whole tour with broken ribs, and you know, there's no way that they can heal properly. Like you can't, like ribs, you just, what can you do? You know, you can wrap it, but it's not going to do anything. They just have to heal on their own. So, but yeah, anyway, not fun.
And now you have a son that you can tell like these tour stories to. How's life being a father? Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely amazing, extraordinary. I don't know how to describe it. You know, from the moment I heard his cry and saw his face, I was just like, it was surreal, you know. And every day has just been a blessing. It's just been amazing waking up to him. He smiles so much. Like from the moment he wakes up, you know, he'll start talking. Like lately, he's been talking a lot in the mornings when he wakes up, and you know, I don't even mind if it's 7 a.m. Whatever, you know, that's my schedule now. So it's like, for any parents, anybody who's about to become a parent, yeah, just get ready for no sleep. But no, he's doing really good. He's like sleeping through the night for the most part. He'll wake up maybe once, and you know, mommy will feed him and all that. And but yeah, we'll wake up and I'll just go over to his crib and to change him and everything. And he's just staring up at me, just this loving face and smile. And he laughs, and it's just like, ah, man, yeah, life is worth living every day to see that. So, yeah, extraordinary feeling. I highly recommend it. I'm just very happy, very proud to be a dad, and very blessed. You know, it's bittersweet that we didn't get to tour in 2020, but it's bittersweet for me because if we were on tour, I wouldn't have got to have all these moments and, you know, these memories with my son, you know, just being born. And, you know, I would have, I may have missed his birth, and because he came a little bit early, I probably would have missed his birth, and I would have, you know, come home for a week and had to fly back out again, and I would have missed all
Right.
these developmental stages. So I'm very blessed that, you know, at least with coronavirus and all things considered, I got to have that time at home with my wife and my son.
Yeah. And I just have to ask this question. Right, I believe it was like right after your son was born, you posted a picture of him in Batman PJs, and I saw a bunch of comments on there. Did Andy get him the PJs?
He did not. He did
No?
not. No, yeah, I know. That's
I saw all
everyone's
the
mind. Everyone thought
comments.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, him and Julie got us another gift. That was like on a registry. We had like kind of a faux baby shower. We couldn't have like a real one because, you know, coronavirus and everything. But yeah, no, they got us another cute onesie. I think it was like ABCD is what it said, like ACDC.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but no, we found Alice and I found that one at H&M, and we were just like, oh my god, yeah. And it was like around, you know, because it was I guess it was like Halloween, because he was just newborn. You know, he was born on October 3rd, so it was like Halloween time. Like, oh, you know, we had like a few different Halloween options, and but the Batman, and you know, of course, we looked at it too. We thought, oh man, Andy's gonna love that. You know, we got to take some pictures and send him. So, but yeah, to answer your question and to answer the fans' questions, no, Andy did not buy that one for us, but it definitely would have been something that he would have picked out for sure.
Yeah. And then as everything's going so good for you, you got COVID. So kind of what was that like getting COVID and having to be away from your new son for that long of a time?
It was horrendous. Yeah, I highly do not recommend getting COVID. Glad that, you know, there are finally vaccines going around, and in that process has started, though. I know it's going to take a while before this whole thing is over. But yeah, it was kind of shocking. You know, getting it, because we're always so good about getting tested pretty frequently, because, you know, us in the band, we have a bubble, and we've been working in the studio together, but just being extra cautious, wearing masks and keeping our distance from each other, but mostly just getting tested. Like before we did the live stream, everyone in the crew was working with us. Everyone got tested, and you know, you have to have negative tests, even 2 negative tests before getting together. So when I started feeling symptoms, and when this happened, this was the end of November, and you know, it was scary at first because I had been around the band that week, and you know, we're working the studio, whatnot, and so the first thought, well, first things first, you know, we're worried about Lennon getting it, you know, and mom getting it. And my mom's living with us, so worry about her getting it, because she's over 65. So it was kind of a scary thought. When I started feeling symptoms, I started with I had a bit of a fever and sore throat, and I woke up. It was on a Saturday morning. I was like, oh no. And I remember the night before I went to bed, I was kind of feeling like a bit dizzy and just super tired. And so right away I knew that something. It was like, we got to go get tested right away. And so we went and got tested, and I was positive, and Alice was negative. My mom was negative. But then like the next day, my mom started feeling symptoms. And I right away, well, I didn't get the results back until like the Sunday night. And me and Alice were in bed, and it was like 2 a.m. and my results came through, and Alice got a result. She's like, hey, I'm positive, or I'm negative. Sorry, I'm negative. And I said, well, I got some bad news. I'm positive. And right at that moment, 2 a.m., we just separated, and she went in the baby's room next door, and I just had to isolate in our bedroom. And and it sucked so bad, because then all of a sudden, and then my mom, she ended up getting it. So she had symptoms the next day, and she went and got tested, and then she was positive. So she isolated in her room, and it was just Alice on her own with the baby, and a newborn baby, like he's only a month old, and she had to 24/7 just be we were sharing the duties of being parents, so it was really hard on her. And not only that, she had to bring me and my mom food, and
Right.
it was really, really trying time. And meanwhile, me and my mom are sick with fevers in our own rooms, and freaking out because you don't know what's going to happen with this thing, if it's going to get worse or whatever, and just feeling like crap. And so it was like 10 days, and being separated with my son was just the worst part of it. Not being able to hold him was just, it's just horrible. And the way our house is set up, I was able to see him through the window into his nursery, and we'd have our moments each day to do that. And but it's bittersweet. We'd just get teary-eyed. And yeah, it was sad. It was 10 really hard days. And
Mm-hmm.
then after everything was said and done, Alice had some really mild symptoms, just a really bad headache and a bit of a sore throat. And she went and got tested again, because she got tested again when my mom tested again, and it was still negative. And then after she had a little bit of symptoms, she tested again, and she was positive. So after everything was said and done, she ended up getting it anyway. So this thing is no joke,
Yeah.
but all things considered, Lennon showed no symptoms. And what we come to find out, there's still little known about this thing. It's just so weird, and much unknowns. But what they've been finding is most newborns who are breastfeeding either have mild symptoms or no symptoms at all, and or just don't get it. So something with their immunity, like they're immune to it just because of that. So, and Alice only showed mild symptoms, thank goodness. So there was the benefit of that, I suppose. But yeah, we all ended up getting it in the end, and it was not fun. Not a fun time. Do not
Yeah,
recommend.
at least you guys are all okay though.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been worse, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. So that it's a blessing. So we're glad that we got through it. And now that being said, I have noticed some long-term effects that are kind of weird. Like I did lose my sense of taste and smell for a while, and that lasted about a month. Even after my other symptoms went away.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that came along that was really weird is just this foggy brain, like having no attention span, not being able to concentrate, easily distracted, which a lot of people have been complaining of that. Still have a little bit of that, but a couple of weeks ago it was really bad, and I was just like, I joked, it was like, oh, it's just getting old. And but no, I like walk into a room to do something, I just completely blank out what I was going to do,
Right.
or just like lose my train of thought, or I'd be in mid conversation with Alice or something, and I just completely forget words that I use every day. And it's really scary, because like I use my brain a lot, and it's not something I want to lose. So but yeah, it's getting better. I feel like it's getting better, knock on wood, but hopefully hopefully all the rest, it goes away eventually.
Right.
So
So I got just a few more questions for you. And
mhm.
I was able to gather a few fan questions in the past week from a few fans that wanted to ask you some questions.
Mm,
So
cool.
so the first one is from Pam, and she wants to know what you think of fans who put on your war paint or make drawings of the band. and she says that she loves your paint and putting it on, and she wishes you the best and admires you very much.
Oh, right on. Well, thanks, Pam. And I think I know exactly who you are online. So, and you're awesome, and really appreciate all your support. I absolutely love it when I see fans put on my makeup, especially, personally mine. And it makes me feel really good. And like, this whole community that we've built and that we have, seeing that in effect really makes me feel good that we're doing something right. So that's a good feeling, and loving seeing artwork the fans make of us. It's incredible. There's some amazing artists out there, and I love seeing it. We'll post it. If you tag us in it on Instagram or whatever, we will post it. Yeah, I just love seeing it, and yeah, so keep it up.
And then from the next one, we got a question from Tamara, and she wants to know what your best moment has been as a musician with Blackfield Rides.
Thanks, Tamara. That's a good question. There's been so many different moments, so many milestones that we've hit, and I can think of one moment in particular that I felt very good about what I was doing, and it was in 2012. Me and Jake won Golden Gods Award for Best Guitarist, and it just kind of hit us right then and there how big our fan base was, because it was a fan voted award, and we were up against some of our heroes, like Megadeth and Avenged Sevenfold, or other bands that were up for that award, and we won it. And it was just like, what? do we deserve this? Like, this is, I feel bad, like our heroes gonna hate us, but no, everyone received us pretty warmly for it, and it was just a big moment. I know for myself, I think for Jake too, and that whole night was just a special moment, because star-studded event, we performed that show, and we weren't widely received by the audience, but it didn't matter. Alice Cooper introduced us, saying some really nice things about us, saying how we're bringing back rock and roll and the shock rock and all that, and then Dee Snider himself sang with us on stage, I Want to Rock, and that was just a very, very special moment. And actually, the next morning, then I met Steven Tyler. That's a whole other story. But it was just like one of those moments where I'm just like, what is my life right now? This is everything I dreamed of, and it's just surreal, So
Yeah,
yeah, that's definitely one for the books right there.
nice. And then from BBB/Andy Biersack, they asked, who did you look up to for musical inspiration growing up?
Big one for me, and I'd say this in my preteen and teen years was Metallica. I think my first album that I just listened to nonstop and played front to back and learned every song front to back was And Justice for All. And then when Black Album came out, I was just, a huge fan. My older brother, Travis, he was in a band with this band called Criminal Mischief with Corey Taylor, and some of the guys ended up being in Stone Sour later. They were like 15 at the time, but they would rehearse in my mom's living room, and I'd come out with my little guitar and they would jam some Metallica songs. And that, my brother was a huge inspiration on me too. He taught me my first, riffs on the guitar, and then him playing in a band and stuff was just so cool to me. And so, between that and it also took me to my first shows, took me to go see Metallica around that time. So that was just really big for me. So, I'd say that would be number one.
Nice. And then the next one is from PJ, and he wants to know what your most memorable performance was and why.
Let's see, PJ. Yeah, I've answered this question before, and I always seem to answer it. Every Download Festival we've ever played, and Download Festival, is this festival in England, and in Donington, near Castle Donington in the Midlands, and it's just a huge festival. It used to be called Monsters of Rock back in the day, and there's like 100,000 people that show up to this thing, and it's just always such an event for us. Andy Koppel that puts it on, he's just super supportive of us and puts us always in a good spot. And one year in particular, we opened up for Metallica on, speaking of Metallica again, excuse me. And that year, for me, that was like all my dreams come true. You know, I remember having dreams growing up of like meeting Metallica or being backstage at a Metallica concert, or, you know, to be opening up for them on the same stage that they're playing in front of their audience. You know, they brought back the snake pit stage where, you know, people could sit inside the stage and you just play around it. And we got to perform on top of that. And it was just an incredible moment seeing all their road gear, you know, Metallica logos on it as we're going on the stage. And that was just a surreal moment for me. It's just like, what, we've made it, you know, to me. I mean, I guess next step is actually headlining mode, and, you know, we'll feel like we'll get there eventually, you know, but.
Right. Okay, so I got one more for you. So Jake and Jinxx BBB asks, do you have any dreams that you haven't fulfilled yet that you would like to?
Yeah, I think I just answered that. Maybe headlining Download Festival.
There you
That's
go.
the next step. I mean, you know, headlining an arena tour. Well, when those can happen again, I guess. But yeah, you know, that's about it. There's no real ceiling for how far we want to take this, and, you know, I think we look up to our favorite bands growing up and seeing what they achieved, and, you know, I think we'd love to achieve some of those same things. Obviously, just gaining more fan base, getting more acceptance in the rock world. When we first started out off, we weren't necessarily respected or you know, accepted by the rock community, the
Right.
established rock community, that is. But we've always had our fan base who's been rabid, and we're just so grateful for that fan base. And we're always interested in growing that fan base and reaching out to more people with our music and our message. So, you know, I think that's any dream. It's not that it hasn't been fulfilled. It's just we want to keep going as long as we can. But we are so very thankful to our fans for being able to let us keep going for as long as we have. So we'd like to just keep going. But yeah, eventually headlining Download Festival, maybe some platinum records. I don't know. We'll see. You know, a Grammy. That's another one. You know, there's certain milestones we haven't hit yet that it would
Right.
be, you know, pretty cool. But yeah, so those are a few, to name a few.
Awesome. Well, that's all I got for you today.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing an interview
It was
again.
great talking. Yeah, absolutely, Victoria. It's great talking to you again. And yeah, I'll definitely let's do this again in 6 months and see where we're at then.
Yeah, for sure.